During my father's will reading, my stepmother grinned and said, "Everything will be mine." But the lawyer interrupted, "Actually, your late husband left you a very special letter." Her smile vanished as soon as she read it. I never liked her. From the moment she entered my father's life, I felt something was wrong. She always seemed too perfect and acted like she was pretending. But my father was completely taken with her, maybe because he was lonely after my mom died or just because he was blinded by her charm. Within a year, they got married. I had already left home by then, but I visited often. Each time, I noticed how she was changing him. He used to be strong, confident, and full of life, but slowly he grew quieter, almost like a different person. He stopped calling as often, and when I visited, she always seemed to be in control, speaking for him, and the money, it was disappearing. My father was a hardworking man who built his business from scratch. We weren't rich, but he was comfortable. After my mom died, he promised me I'd always be taken care of, but once she came into his life, his bank accounts started emptying, investments were changed, and I knew she was taking his money, but my father refused to listen. "She loves me," he said, and I gritted my teeth and waited. Then, about a year ago, he got very sick. At first, she said it was just stress, and he trusted her completely because she played the caring wife so well, but by the time he saw a doctor, it was too late. He was at stage 4 and had no chance of recovery. In public, she cried and acted heartbroken, but behind closed doors, she was already selling his belongings and cashing in his assets. She thought no one was watching, but I was. I spent every moment I could with him in his last months. One night, while she was out with friends, probably celebrating her expected inheritance, my father pulled me close and whispered, "Don't let her win." I didn't understand what he meant then. When he died, she quickly started planning changes to the house before his body had even cooled. She stopped returning my calls, as if I didn't exist. I wasn't surprised, I always knew she wanted everything. On the day of the will reading, she arrived with that same smug smile on her face, wearing a fancy black dress. She barely acknowledged me, just sat down, crossed her legs, and waited. The lawyer shuffled through his papers and began reading the will. She listened half-heartedly, nodding along as he went through the legal details. But when he said, "And to my wife," she straightened up, convinced that everything would be hers. Then the lawyer paused and looked at me before continuing, "He left you a very special letter." Her confident smile disappeared. "A letter?" she repeated, as if she hadn't heard correctly. The lawyer slid a sealed envelope across the table. "This is your husband's final wish. He wanted you to read it here, with witnesses." She hesitated, eyeing the envelope as if it might explode. With a forced smile, she tore it open. As she read, her face turned pale, her hands began to shake, and her jaw clenched. She scanned the words desperately, as if looking for a mistake. Finally, she slammed the letter down. This is a joke," she stammered. The lawyer remained calm. "I assure you, it is not a joke." I leaned forward and asked, "What does it say?" For the first time, she wouldn't look at me. Her confident attitude was crumbling. I knew my father had thought ahead. Whatever was in that letter would ruin her plans. She sat frozen, clutching the letter tightly as if she wanted to destroy it. Her usual smugness had vanished. The lawyer looked at me with a hint of satisfaction, as if he already knew what was coming. After a long pause, she whispered, "This isn't real. It can't be." I asked again, "What does it say?" She pushed the letter away, her hands shaking, as if the words burned her. The lawyer took the letter, cleared his throat, and began reading aloud. My father's voice came through the letter, strong and clear even in death. "To my dear wife, by now you're sitting in that chair, expecting to get everything you think is rightfully yours. You always believed you had already won, that I was too blind to see you for who you really are. But I wasn't blind, I was patient." She gasped sharply. "I knew the moment I got sick that you weren't really going to take care of me. I saw you lie, telling me I was fine when I wasn't. I even saw you smile when I wasn't looking. You counted the days until I died, so you could take everything and live the life you always wanted without me." Her face flushed red, but she stayed silent. "But here's the thing, my dear wife. I was never going to let you win. You took my love, my trust, my kindness, and you used it against me. But the one thing you never got was my legacy. You get nothing." The room went completely silent. I looked at her, waiting for her to explode. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again before finally speaking. This is illegal." He was sick. He wasn't thinking straight. She spat. The lawyer interrupted. "Your husband was of sound mind when he made this will. There were many witnesses and all the legal steps were followed. He paused and added, "You can try to challenge it, but I promise you, you won't win." She suddenly stood up, shaking with anger. "This isn't fair. I was his wife. I took care of him, I couldn't help it." I laughed. "Really? Because from what I saw, you spent most of your time getting spa treatments and shopping while he was dying." Her glare was so fierce it could have burned me. The lawyer ignored her outburst and continued reading. "As for my estate, my business, my savings, everything I built with my own hands, it all goes to the only person who ever truly cared about me, my child." I felt my breath catch in my throat. My child? I blinked, everything was mine. She must have realized it too because her anger suddenly turned to something else, calculating. She spun around so quickly it almost made me dizzy. "Maybe we can work something out," she said quickly in a softer voice. "I mean, do you really need everything? I took care of that house. I made it a home. Maybe I could just—" I shook my head. "No." She flinched and her lips pressed into a thin line. Then, lifting her chin, she hissed, "You'll regret this," and stormed out. I should have felt victorious, or at least relieved, but something told me this wasn't over, not yet. I thought that was the end of the fight. I sat there, staring at the letter, feeling the weight of my father's words. Everything was mine, the house, the business, the money, everything he had built, everything she had been circling like a vulture, waiting to claim. But the way she left, and the final words she hissed, "You'll regret this," didn't feel right, and I was right to worry. 2 weeks later, I got a call that turned everything upside down. "The lawsuit, she's contesting the will," the lawyer said in a calm but firm voice. "She's claiming undue influence, mental incompetence, and fraud." I almost laughed. Fraud? My father had the will signed, witnessed, and notarized. She doesn't have a case, I thought. "Normally, I'd agree," he said, "but she's hired a very aggressive lawyer and she's making a lot of noise." I paused. "What kind of noise?" "She's saying, you manipulated your father while he was sick, forced him to change the will, and took advantage of his weakened state." I gritted my teeth. "That's ridiculous. She's the one who tried to cut him off from his doctors. She wanted him gone as fast as possible." "Yes," the lawyer admitted, "but she's very good at playing the victim. She's telling the court that she was a devoted wife, that you barely showed up, and that you only appeared at the end to steal everything." I wanted to throw my phone across the room. This woman, this parasite, was trying to change history. "What are our chances?" I asked, my voice tight. The lawyer hesitated, and that pause sent a chill down my spine. "We have the law on our side," he said, "but she has something else." I frowned. "What does she have?" "Connections," he replied. Then it hit me. My stepmother, for all her scheming, wasn't just a gold digger who got lucky by marrying a rich man. No, she had planned this all along. She played the long game. She built her network, made friends in all the right places, and now she was using those connections to fight back. If she couldn't take my father's money the easy way, she was going to try and steal it through the courts, but I wasn't going to let her. She had underestimated my father, and now she was about to realize she had underestimated me, too. The next few weeks were a nightmare. She flooded social media with her crocodile tears, claiming I had stolen her husband's estate. She gave interviews, playing the grieving widow, and worse, people actually believed her. I began receiving threats, messages from strangers calling me a monster, a gold digger, a heartless child who had betrayed her own father. It was maddening. I wanted to scream. But then, everything changed. It started with a phone call, an unknown woman, her voice shaking, her words hesitant. "I saw the news," she said, "and I think you should know something." I frowned. "Who is this?" A long pause. "My name is Claire, and I used to be married to her." My breath caught in my throat. What? She's done this before?" In person, Claire was a wreck, nervous, constantly glancing over her shoulder, like my stepmother might burst in at any moment. What she told me was worse than I could have imagined. "She married my father," Claire said, her voice low. "Years ago, same story, came into his life when he was vulnerable, made herself indispensable, convinced him she loved him, and then he got sick." I swallowed hard. "She did the same thing?" Claire whispered. "She cut him off from everyone, took control of the finances, and by the time he realized what was happening, it was too late." "What happened?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Claire exhaled shakily. "She drained him dry. By the time he passed, there was nothing left. She walked away with everything." I felt sick. She had done this before. And worse, she had gotten away with it. Until now. The trap we set with Claire's testimony was a game-changer. It wasn't just my word against hers, it was a history of manipulation, a clear pattern, but I knew she wouldn't go down without a fight. She was a master manipulator, always covering her tracks. If we were going to beat her, we had to be smarter. So we laid the trap. Claire agreed to reach out to my stepmother, pretending to be sympathetic, pretending to be angry at me. They met up, just the two of them, and my stepmother, trusting as always, bragged. She mocked my father, talked about how she'd outsmarted him, but best of all, she admitted, on a recorded phone call, that she had done this before. She admitted everything. The day of the court hearing, my stepmother walked in like she had already won, dressed in designer clothes, head held high, the picture of the elegant widow. I almost felt sorry for her, almost. Because when that recording played in court, her world crumbled. She screamed that it was fake, that it was taken out of context, but it didn't matter. The judge ruled against her. Not only did she lose everything, but criminal charges were now on the table, fraud, financial abuse, and more. And that wasn't all. Once the investigation into her past began, they uncovered more husbands, more stolen money, more victims. Now, she was looking at prison time. As for me, I kept my father's legacy. I honored his last words, and most importantly, I made sure she would never hurt another family again. She tried to run. Of course, the moment she realized the walls were closing in, she packed her bags, drained what little money she had left, and tried to disappear. But the police were already on her trail. The morning she was supposed to leave, they caught her at the airport. She fought, screamed, even faked tears, begging the officers to let her go, but it was over. The media ate it up, the grieving widow exposed as a fraud, the elegant woman revealed as just another criminal in handcuffs. And me? I made sure the world saw it. Every news station covered her downfall, every person who had threatened me, every so-called friend who had taken her side, they all saw the truth. She wasn't a victim, she was a predator, and she was going to pay. The trial was brutal, not just for me, but for all the families she had destroyed. Claire testified. Other victims came forward, husbands, stepchildren, even a former business partner. One by one, their stories painted the picture of a woman who had spent decades lying, stealing, and ruining lives. She tried to play the victim, claimed she was being framed, blamed me, said I orchestrated everything out of spite, but the evidence was too strong, the recordings, the bank statements, the witnesses. When the jury came back with their verdict, guilty on all counts, fraud, theft, elder abuse, the judge didn't hesitate. She was sentenced to 25 years behind bars. The house? Gone. The money? Seized. Her reputation? Ruined. She had spent her entire life scamming her way to wealth and power, thinking she was untouchable. Now, she was just another inmate in an orange jumpsuit. The final goodbye. I visited her, not because I forgave her, not because I wanted closure, but because I wanted her to see me on the other side of that glass, free, successful, and untouched by the destruction she tried to bring. When she saw me, she sneered, "You think you won?" I smiled. I know I did. Her eyes burned with hate. Good. I leaned in just enough for her to hear me over the prison's hum. My father outsmarted you, and now you get to rot knowing you lost. She opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't care. I stood up, turned my back, and walked away. For the first time since my father's death, I felt at peace. She was finished, and his legacy? It was finally safe. And that, my friends, is how karma works. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, please like, comment, and subscribe for more great stories. Don't forget to tap the notification bell, so you never miss an update. Share your thoughts in the comments, we love hearing from you. See you next time, and take care.